One eternity later.
Hello, you're sat on the Vice. Right, it's now Thursday afternoon, about 3:30ish. I've just come back from work, where I've just done 300 miles on a brand new 2025 model, which isn't out yet. It's embargoed, so I can't talk about it. Needless to say, it was an absolute stonker. The only clues I'm going to give you is it's already a current model. This is an update, a big update. 1200 shaft drive, named after a big cat. Anyway, it was superb, even in prototype form, and I've just done 300 miles on it. And to be quite honest, I got to about 250 miles before I started to feel my bum. So brilliant seat. Right, anyway, parts are innage. And you know how I said I thought that was a third party seal that was in there originally, because it was metal cased. Turns out these have come today from Cradley Heath, so ordered Friday, arrived today. Not bad going. This is the original Kawasaki seal. As you can see, it is metal cased. So I'm going to put a little gob of shit around it. I'm going to put some of my aircraft sealer around it before it goes in. And here's my new shaft. As you can see, no wear on that bit, and lovely. And as you can see, nice, uniformly round, etc, etc. Here's the used one, which I ground down obviously because all that was really rough and horrible. But look at the wear. That had quite significant wear on it compared to the new. Can you see that? So yes, I'm going to be fitting these. See, I did well and I lasted, but yeah, interesting to note the original seal had the metal round, and this is the other one from Wamoto, and it doesn't. So I'm guessing the case cracked when that hit the deck. I think that was enough to stress the case and cracked it. So anyway, we've JB welded it. I haven't touched it. I've smoothed it up a bit. So I suppose the only thing left to do is to fit that, which I might have to just knock in with the right size socket. Generally what I do, because it's got a spring in it like a fork seal, there's a spring to help it retain its shape and keep tension. I usually put a bit of rubber grease or something in there and it stops the spring coming out. But that I shall put in there, and it'll probably need knocking in gently with the right size socket, which might just be that one. What's that? 13mm? Ooh, 14 would be perfect. Nice. And then I can slide my new shaft in, and then we'll see how we go. Any luck after that, fingers crossed, we won't leak any oil. What I'm going to do, because that's a nice lovely new gasket and it looks laminated and stuff, unlike the original Kawasaki one, which was just pure paper, I'm not going to put any sealer or anything on it. I'll put a little dab of shit on the crankcase where the crankcase splits, and that's it. I was going to put aircraft sealer all around it and stuff, but I don't think there's any need. We'll try it without first, and then I shall bung it on its centre stand, fill it back up with oil, and then put a bit of cardboard under it, and we'll see what it's like in the morning. So that's what I'm going to get on with. I might just crack on with it rather than film doing it. I might just crack on with it. I don't know yet, because I could do with a kib, if I'm honest. Nice. Right, everything's back together, and the clutch is working. I put a little dab of silicone on the crankcase halves where they join, and just as a little insurance policy, I've put some of my aircraft sealer just on the bottom bit of the gasket, and I've also put it on the threads of these bottom bolts. Maybe it's overkill, maybe not. Anyway, the other news being, when I put that other seal in, and I just lightly tapped it home with a 14mm socket, which is a perfect size, the crack reappeared. Yeah, I can actually feel it with my finger, but I have put some seal around it as well. I'll put some sealer around the seal, so I'm going to see what that does, because all it's got to be, there's no real pressure in here. Or yes, you get crankcase pressure, but it's not a lot. But all it's got to be is oil tight. So I quickly went on the forums, and somebody did suggest, actually, if you can feel the crack with your finger, just run some super glue in it, because all it's got to do is seal it. So I have done that. If that doesn't work, I'm going to have to put some JB Weld back on it, I think, and we'll see how we go. So what I'm doing now is the oil's ready to go back in it. When the oil goes back in it, I'm going to put the bike on its centre stand, chuck a bit of cardboard under it, and then I'll know if we have any leakage, and if we do, well, it's no doubt going to be from there, and then I'll just have to JB weld it. That's all there is to it. If it slows down to just a little fragmented drop, I'd be quite happy with that. What's the other thing I was going to do? I don't know, Jim. Get a brain. Yeah, I was going to say something. Anyway, my welder's come, but that's the subject for another video. Because the first job I shall do with that is to repair the main stand of Felice, because the activation foot of the stand has it's cracked where it joins the stand. So I'm going to have to fanny around with that. But in the meantime, I'm going to chuck some oil back in the bike. The clutch works. You can actually see it working through the toil hole. When you press the clutch lever, you'll see the clutch plates come in and out, and they do that. They work. Everything went back okay. Hand gestures. So yeah, there's not a lot more I can do other than chuck oil in it and see. But we shall have a tidy up first, because as usual the tool mice have been in and made a mess. That was you, Jim. Thank you.
A few moments later.
The oil, it's leaking from the gasket. Fuck me. I'll repeat that for our viewers hard of hearing. Right, it looks like it is leaking from the gasket. It started straight away as soon as the oil level was high enough. So it looks like I'm going to have to seal that gasket. Oh well, never mind. At least we know. But so far, nothing through the crack, and the oil level was high enough, and nothing through the shell. Nope, nothing through the seal. So probably cured the original problem. Now created another, which is how my life goes. So I'm just going to drain out the oil again. It looks a bit dark and horrible. It's actually, if you put in a little bit on the fingers, it's not that bad actually. It's not that bad at all. Certainly good enough to reuse, and it's certainly way too early to put new oil in it. Way too early. So looks like we're having that cover off again then, Jim. Well, yes it does, doesn't it? But at least you'll have peace of mind that it's done. Fuck peace of mind. There it is. Put it on. Fuck off. Yes, it's now getting to the let's swear at everything because that makes it better stage. And it's true, it does. Yes, I think we're going to have to put some sealer on the side of that gasket. It's funny because it didn't leak from there before, so who knows? Who knows? I shall just buzz it off, pull it off. I shall put some sealer on either side of it, and probably just bolt it back together and just leave it overnight and see what it does. Won't put any oil in it till the morning. 18 foot-pounds for the sump plug. Do not over tighten it. That is perilously close to the righty loosey. Yes, 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 yes. Bastard. Well, I'm going to deal with this at a later date, possibly tomorrow, because I'm now hungry. Yes, I think it's time for fish and chips. Yes, it was leaking out that corner, and it's all clean. So whether the gasket just hadn't just hadn't been pinched up. The bolts were certainly tight enough, so I don't know. But what I might do is just get some high Lamar, because that never really seals or sets hard or anything, or deforms anything. Get some high Lamar and just run it along there and up there. And I'm going to double check the Kawasaki service manual, because it might actually tell you to put sealer on it. Who knows? I don't know, so I'm going to leave that today, because I'm up to my effing neck in it.
Day 2.
Well, good people, you are on the Insta 360, because I just took it off Olive, because I've just come back from work after having done another 300 miles to run a bike in. We usually run them up to 600, and the last 3 days I've done 300 miles a day plus my commuting. So I worked it out. This week I've done about 150 mile commuting a week, which is what I normally do. And then Monday I did 150 mile, Tuesday 150 mile, what's after Tuesday, Jim? Wednesday 150 miles, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, of which is today, Saturday, I've done 300 miles a day. So yes, actually somebody said the other day, your eyes look like sheep's cunts in or was it piss holes in the snow. So yes, it is tiring, there's no doubt about it, but I've now got the rest of the weekend off anyway. You all saw on the very, very short video that Phyllis broke down yesterday. I'm not say I was on the island, I was accelerating behind the car, accelerating, national symbol, and it just, you didn't pick it up very well in the video, but it just sort of went like this metallic, like chink, 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 chink. I'm not saying chinky, but chink, 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 like this. But it didn't have sort of any of the symptoms. Last time when it dropped a valve, God, you heard it, and the power dropped instantly. It was like, bleh. I'm not doing that again. Right, it wasn't as good the second time. Anyway, it was literally like somebody had just disconnected the engine from the gearbox, and it was just a tinkly, tinkly, tinkly. The clutch, when the engine revs died, the clutch disconnected as it should on one of those, just sort of disengaged. So I was able to push it around the island, and then eventually I pushed it across the road. Very conveniently, broke down outside a pub, a very good one too. One of the best meals I've ever had is in that Red Gate. Really good mixed grill, and it had duck faggots and ham hock and all that. Anyway, I must return there for consumables. So yeah, I had a pint while I was waiting. Me and Uncle Steve. Uncle Steve came down because he was just up the road, and he suggested, because it will spin over quite freely, but there doesn't sound like there's masses of compression. Now, if it's done a valve, we won't be getting any compression, or it's hung a valve, we won't be getting much compression. But he also suggested, because of the noise it made and all this lot, it might have just broke the timing chain. So if it has, again, the valves are going to stay where they are. Well, they're actually going to go under spring tension and they're going to close. Or one's going to hang open, whatever. Either way, we don't know till it comes back here, and we get torn into it. Anyway, Steve's mate Chris, we managed to borrow his van. He turned up with his van, and I got in the back of the van with the bike, and it's literally going a mile up the road to where Chris lives. And so I sat on the bike in the back of the van, and it was boiling hot in that van. I now feel what the Japanese prisoner of war felt like when he was in the hot box, because it was I was nearly passing out by the time they opened the back doors. But yeah, I've done some sketchy shit in my time, and that was up there with the really fun sketchy shit bit. So anyway, Phyllis, she's at the farm. At some point this week, Steve's going to try and get her over here, and then we can tear her down and have a look. The great thing about Phyllis is the parts, apart from a couple of silly parts like the fuel injector and stuff like that, the parts aren't silly expensive. So, and it's such a simple engine that even if it completely blew that engine, I'd go and get like a little leaf fan 140 or something like that and stick that in it, because I'm sure they could be made to fit, because that's what the Super Cub boys and all that lot fit. But we don't know yet. Till we split it open, we don't know. Other news, actually, I can actually turn the viewpoint of the camera. I don't need to move, because this is 360 degrees. It's actually two 180 lenses. Spurt is there. So let me take you around here using the alternative viewpoint. Last night, by the time I got back in and all that lot, and I'd had a little kip and cooled down a little bit because it was bloody hot yesterday. What did you do, Jim? Oh yeah, the High Lamar came. I love this stuff. Invented for Rolls-Royce for use in jet engines. It is a gasket sealer, but it doesn't set rock hard. It sort of stays in a like a gel form, if you like. So I High Lamar'd the mating face of the crankcases, and I High Lamar'd the other side of the gasket as well. Put it together and torqued it last night, and there was a little bit of oilage came out as I put the cover up. There was a little tiny bit of oil in the cover, and that sort of came out as it come out, and I didn't bother cleaning anything up, so there is a little bit. Let's see if there's any. Right, well that's the original seal I replaced, where the crack is, just there, and that I can run my finger on and it's dry. There is a little bit of oil sitting on top of the clutch arm there, which may have been like some of the oil that spilt out. Actually, it's not super soaking wet. And then I put the cardboard under it last night to see if there's any oil drippage. You can see oil on it because I haven't put the sump plug back in, so that's just residual that's come out the sump. So I ain't too worried about that. But the job now is I'm going to torque the sump plug in, which I think is the very top foot-pounds of this. I think it's 18 foot-pounds. Yeah, and this goes up to, its marking goes up to 1770, so that and a pinch of salt. And I put the sump plug back in, then I'm going to start to introducificate some oil, and then we'll just see how we go, because last time it was pissing out this corner, and there's no blatantly obvious reason why. I just probably maybe the gasket got nipped up or something like that. I don't know, because everything's torqued correctly. They're all 12 foot-pounds or thereabouts. I say all thereabouts because I've put a bit of sealer on the bolts, and then what I do is I reduce the torque by at least 10%, because it's now a lubricated bolt. If it's a lubricated bolt, if it's meant to be lubricated, it will tell you in the torque specs, it will tell you in your reassembly instructions that this is it's like some head bolts etc have to be oiled, but the torque setting takes that into account. Finger gestures. So what I do, if it's not supposed to be a lubricated bolt or grease bolt or anything like that, mainly I do it because you've got two dissimilar metals. You've got steel going into alley, and it loves to corrode. And when they're left too long, they can actually weld themselves together, like chemically weld. I don't know what the correct scientific term is. So that's why I do it. But if you do that, you must then reduce the torque by at least 10% on the fastener. Right, so I'm going to put some oil in. I'm going to shut you off. I'm going to put some oil in. My beverage of the day is very posh today, look, caramel latte. I bought a shitload of it from Morrison's. Yeah, and delivered via Amazon, and it was all a very nice experience. Right, what was I going to do? Jim, you're going to put the oil in, you fuckwit. Yes, but put the sump plug in first. Yeah, we'll get on with that then, shall we? Okay, it's up to the window now, and nothing so far, nothing's leaked. So, yeah, fingers crossed. I'm just going to give it a minute to settle. Then I'm going to run it up, make sure the oil's all circulated around the engine, and then recheck the level. But yes, anyway, this I was telling you about this unmitigated disaster, which was actually worse than Phyllis breaking down, because Phyllis, I can forgive a lot of stuff, you know, because she's a lovely little fun thing, and like I say, it's not that hard to repair usually, but yeah, it's to do with Olive. Yeah, I mean, she's running fine. Occasionally I do have to charge the battery for a little bit more than a few days. It's like I've said this before, it's a typical Italian. You know, it's got to have a full chooch battery. But anyway, I'm nearly unconsolable, to be honest, because I didn't notice till I got work, but my titties have disappeared. Yeah.
Titties.
Okie dokie, I ran it up and no leaks. I'm just waiting for the oil level to come back up again. Whenever you even just doing an oil change, oil and filter change, always put the recommended amount in that it says in the manual. Whether you've the amount that you've done with the filter or without or whatever, and then run the end. This goes for cars as well. Anything, run the engine, turn it off, wait a few minutes, and recheck the level, because quite often you may have to add. This has been switched off about a minute now. Cases are still stone cold. But don't do that to the exhaust, because you'll get burnt and you'll look like a 1930s Nuremberg racing driver. So this is, like I say, it's been shut off about a minute, look, and the oil is right back down there. Now I'm going to give it a few minutes. I'm going to go and have a sandwich or something like that, wanking a pot noodle, and then I'll recheck the level. You only actually do need a couple of minutes to check it. It does drain back into the sump quite quickly. But if that's the amount we've got to top up, because I did lose a bit of oil, obviously. When I drained the oil to do the cover, it was up to the mark. But I've spilt some since, and we've had drippage on the floorage. So yes, it wouldn't surprise me if we need to add, half a litre or something like that. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But so far, Jimmy's not got wet fingers. Fucking story of my life. Anyway, so yeah, this is really misleading. I don't know whether the Chamarrer is going to pick it up, but this new clutch arm, I've actually marked it because I grabbed it with the mole grips to move it, to put the cable on and all this lot. Because it's gloss paint, it looks like it's been dripped on, but it's not. It's bone dry. Yes, it does help if you have decent eyeballs. Anyway, for now, that'll do for this, and then if there's any update to report, I will update it whenever's. But yeah, so far it's oil tight. I won't know for sure until obviously putting the oil cap back on. You're going to start to build the crankcase pressure up a little bit. That obviously works its way through the airbox and all this lot. So we'll have to see, but that will do for now. Thanks for watching, thanks for sharing, thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing. And remember, as Erico says from South Main Auto, if I can do it, so can you. Now he means repairing stuff. I probably mean fucking it up.